How do you scale your business, attract the right clients to you at the right time, ensure that everybody in your audience gets served at their level without sacrificing a lot of energy and without having to pay into a whole bunch of scammy marketing sales tactics that could possibly cannibalize your market and lead to people dropping off and not getting the conversions and results that you want? Well, it all takes the glass slipper method. And if you've been following my content for a while, then you've probably already heard about me talking about the glass slipper method and how I've basically used this in all areas of my life and inside of my own business and ecosystem. Well, now I have decided to teach the ecosystem to you. And this deep dive masterclass is going to give you the overview. So you might be wondering what exactly I have done with this, and I'm going to be telling you more inside of this presentation. But first, what I'm going to say is that the glass slipper method, the reason it's called that is because of the Cinderella principle. You understand, Cinderella had a whole bunch of things working against her. She was a maid. She was working under her evil, wicked stepmother who didn't want her to go to the ball. And because of the fact that the stepmother and stepsisters were opportunists, while Cinderella was sweet and kind and wouldn't dare want to manipulate the prince, she wouldn't go through and do those same tactics. In fact, all she wanted to do was show up at the ball. She attracted the prince, and rather than manipulating the prince, she ended up being chosen out of all of the maidens in the land. And she did this simply by showing up and dropping her shoe. Cinderella really didn't have much else to offer in the way of riches or any gold or anything else that was going to attract a prince typically, but because she was kind and because she had courage, she still won out. Now, you as somebody who wants to align with the right person and you don't want to use schemy sales tactics to do it, the glass slipper method basically allows for alignment. It allows you to attract everything that is meant for you without having to do more than just drop the shoe. And then when the time is right, they come in. In the meantime, you continue to build up on who you are and continue to build up on your own value, knowing that one day your dreams will come true. Now, how the glass slipper method works outside of true love, because I've talked a lot about this, is that I've started to implement this in my business. And the reason I did this was because I knew that at some point I was going to be scaling backwards from taking on one-to-one clients, especially as my true love came in and we were doing other projects outside of just the birth space. Plus, I wanted to branch out. I knew that birth was just one step for me. And because of the fact that I have multiple different interests and there's many different access points to me, I wanted to create something that was going to streamline the offers where they needed to go, streamline the people that came into my field where they needed to go, and bounce off anybody who wasn't truly aligned, like those wicked stepsisters, the wicked stepmothers, the cats that would go after the mice, that sort of thing. And so I implemented this ecosystem and I've built it up, and now it's starting to work the way that I had already intended for it to work without me having to worry about adding a whole bunch of ads to it or trying to get leads. Instead of leads, what I'm looking to get are advocates. And I've learned a lot of this from my mentors, Evan Pagan, Annie Lala, and of course, Donald Stojak is another one. And they basically showed me how to sell without being salesy. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is, again, because I know that you probably want to scale your business or you're looking to get started and you want to do things ethically. And you know, there's a lot of sales and marketing tactics out there that they work to a degree, but if you don't have the right pieces in addition to what's being taught, you can find yourself falling into a marketing trap. And then within those marketing and sales traps that you fall into, you can then end up alienating your audience or cannibalizing your market. And you're like, what's happening? I'm not getting the sales. And I've seen a lot of really good creators out there and amazing coaches who they go and they find these sales tactics and they think that they're doing something right, and they don't recognize the harm that they're actually doing. And as a discerning consumer, I've also recognized that, sometimes there's a really great product, but the delivery of the sales just turns me right off because I know that they don't really see me as a customer. They just see me as somebody to get money from. Like, think about when you go into a store, you love the products, but there's a salesperson there who just rubs you the wrong way because every time you go into that store, they are trying to sell you into something you don't need. We don't want to do that. And when you're relying on outsourcing and when you're relying on having other people sell for you as you want to protect your time, what this can do is it may not be aligned and they may be turning people off of you without you even realizing it, because you'll see the big leads that are coming in and then you'll see, oh, I'm still getting the conversion rates of 1% to 2%. So I'm good. But meanwhile, what's happening is that there's a death of 1,000 cuts. So I'm going to share my ecosystem with you because I've basically built this to be the anti-funnel. And I've also built this to protect my interests long term, because as I grow and expand and evolve, I want my old systems to evolve with me. I don't want to have to start all over, and I don't want to end up cannibalizing my market. So what I've basically done is I started to protect my time and energy, raise my rates, and still have products available at every level for my clients. And I do this without relying on any sleazy sales tactics. And I'm also growing my audience bit by bit by using only one piece of high conversion value content. So I'm going to show you the ecosystem now. So if this is sounding really good already, strap in because we're about to dive deep. And if you find any value in this and you want to learn more, you can always reach out to me. Just go into the description of this video. You'll find the guide that also gives you access to the contact information. There's an intake form that you can check out as well. And remember that information is free and I charge for access to me. Also, I am willing to teach the ecosystem to other coaches who want to teach it in their communities. There is a path for that. And I have been working with some friends of mine who have also been implementing the ecosystem at deeper levels. So there's a lot more to this than what is inside this presentation. And this presentation is basically going to be the first step for you. If you have any questions, as I said, reach out because I have gone 10 layers deep with this, okay? This is something that I've been building over the last 3 years, and I'm continuing to evolve it and refine it. So this is my own system based on what I've picked up from marketing and from sales and from my own experiences as a consumer and as a coach. And I've basically got it through the examples of how I run my channels, how I run all of my content, how I'm running my business. And I'm here to basically teach it to you and help you implement it yourself. Okay? So now that we've gotten started and you understand the concept of Cinderella and how she's got that perfect fit glass slipper, it only fits her foot. And again, if you want to know more, there is a playlist available on my YouTube channel, Carly Bondrewd Uncensored. The link is in the description. And what this will allow you to do is get the stories around what I'm doing with the glass slipper method, because there's a whole psychology to this. Everything that I run in my business is not just tactics, it's psychology. And it's done in an ethical way so that you can feel good and you can sleep at night knowing that whatever happens, you are serving your people. Okay, so let's get started. The glass slipper method of client attraction, how to create a gamified ecosystem that effortlessly attracts and filters your audience without relying on funnels and nurture sequences. You know, there's so many times where we have a funnel that's built, but it's only for one product. And then what happens as you evolve is that you have to rebuild that funnel every single time. Whereas with the ecosystem, what this allows you to do is you can change things in and out without having to change the whole system at once. Okay. And the same thing with nurture sequences. You create a nurture sequence and then it only ties into that one product that you're trying to sell. And then what happens again is that if somebody jumped onto your list for one thing, then they're not going to stay on that list. So I have a very high retention rate for my email list. And I also am able to evolve with that list. So I can showcase anything with my method. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how that works. I'm not going to go all into all of the little intricate details. If you do have questions, you can reach out to me. But this is basically the overview of what I've done with this system. So is this for you? Well, this is for you if you are a seasoned coach or consultant with successful case stories of past clients and you want to scale your practice beyond referrals. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to coach people without a referral, but this does mean that if you've got products available, if you have a group program available, if you have other things beyond one-to-one coaching where a referral isn't necessarily needed, or you want to showcase your talents and you want to showcase your content to a wider audience without having to rely on word of mouth referrals through your past clients, then this is going to allow you to do that so that new people can find you. Maybe they type in your name or something in a Google search. They're looking for something, a solution. They come across your stuff. And now they're instantly warmed up to you without having to even work with you yet. And then they naturally will tell others about you. So that's basically what you want. And if it's also for you, if you are a content creator with sellable products and services and you want to make money while you sleep. You want to raise your rates, protect your time, and you don't want to rely on those scammy, salesy marketing tactics or outsource to people not intimately familiar with your methods and system. I mean, now that we have AI and now that we have a whole bunch of marketing gurus out there and we have the virtual assistants, as a content creator or coach, you may have noticed that you're getting people in your DMs that are like, I can fix your SEO for you. I can help you make more money in your business. I can help you get more leads. I can help you get more clients. But they're outsourcing this to other virtual assistants. And those virtual assistants are usually only trained at the spammy sales tactics that you don't really want because that's going to alienate your audience again. And in addition to that, they don't know your method inside and out. So part of what I want to do in my business is bring in people who know my method, and I wouldn't hire anybody who doesn't know my method, which means that I need to have a different type of attraction system than what is typically out there. And that is why I've built the ecosystem. Now, the thing is, you need to also recognize that your focus can't just be on income, but also on impact. You have a message and a mission, not just a business. Maybe in the beginning, it wasn't even about the money for you. And at the same time, you've recognized that it's really difficult to get a message across if you don't have that business model behind it. So you need to be able to have oxygen in your business, and clients equals oxygen, sales equals oxygen in your business. At the same time, it's not just about the money. You don't just want to get a few clients and have them walk through a process and make money at this. This is more about the impact for you. And you have a deep message. Like with Empowering Moms, I am committed to every mom having an empowered birth. I'm committed to every mom breaking free of mommy martyr syndrome and having a sovereign motherhood journey. I'm committed to women basically being in their power And I'm also committed to them being able to lead their families into a higher level direction where they are more conscious, they are more connected, and that they are also doing their own magic in the world. Even when I hire a coaching queen, she's not just working for me, she's also working for herself. And not just in my work, but also for her own unique mission. So I'm very mission focused, I'm very impact focused. And then the money itself is the abundance that I accumulate by being that person out in the world. So again, Cinderella principle, have courage, be kind. Cinderella is kind to the mice and the birds. And because she's kind to the mice and the birds, she attracts the prince, she gets in the palace, and now she's able to help more people because she has more resources. So that's the mindset you really need to have. You need to have courage and you need to be kind. This is not something that is going to work overnight. I'm going to warn you about that right now. If you are looking for something that is going to give you instant success, this is not it. This is a root system. This is a foundational piece. This is going to protect your business long term. Yes, you can get those initial sales, and that's not the point of the ecosystem. So here's the problem that we typically see is you're told to build a funnel. The typical funnel is somebody watches or reads your content, and then there's automatically an opt-in to email freebies or jump on a free masterclass. People have gotten wise to that, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So then they're told about your method and the offer that you're trying to sell, and then you have a certain number of leads, and from those leads, a few buy your product and become a client. Now, the problem with that, of course, is that you are relying on a wider audience just to get a few people in and buy your product. What happens to the rest of them? So the problem with the content as a funnel is it doesn't automatically target buyers for your specific offer. Most people are still in the awareness stage and they're not ready to buy. So now you also have too many pieces of content that don't curate the offer to the topic because you've been told to also create lots of pieces of content to get people into your funnel so that they will buy from you. But most buyers, the ones that are ready to buy now, they're looking for a specific solution to the problem that they're reading about. They're not looking to jump into the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So what I see with a lot of blogs that are a real problem is that as I'm reading through them, they are now linking off to other things that they're barely mentioning it. And then they're like, oh, are you looking for this? Go check this out. Oh, do you want this? Go and check out this thing. Opt into this. Go buy this. And it takes me right out of what I'm trying to read. And I'm not looking to buy yet. I'm looking to educate myself. I wasn't looking for a service. I was just looking for awareness. I may have become a buyer in the future. However, now I am so turned off, I'm not going to go back because now I'm just overwhelmed. I don't want to do that. So the thing is that if they're reading and they're not looking to jump into the next thing, they may start to attribute it as, oh, you're just trying to sell me into whatever thing you can possibly sell me into. So then this content is very sales heavy and it's less shareable because people hate clicking on a video or a blog post only to discover that it's actually an ad for a product. And they're far less likely to share your content if they feel you're just selling with it. And then additionally, potential buyers, as I mentioned, they get turned off or they keep their options open. So it's again, like I go into a store, I'm looking for something specific. And there's two different stores. There's one where I'm allowed to browse as I like and see what's out there, and maybe I'll buy from there. Or I go into the store, but immediately I'm greeted by that salesperson and they are trying to upsell me into every single thing and tell me about a million different sales. I came in initially to buy, but now I'm kind of in this sense of I can't really look for what I'm looking for because you won't get off of my back here. You just keep trying to come up and sell me and keep saying, are you sure that I can't help you with anything? And it's like, you know what? I'm going to try to buy from somewhere else. I'll come back if there's nothing else available and I'll buy your thing, but I'll just go in and I'll get out as soon as possible. I won't be upselling and I probably won't come back here because I know what that energy is. You don't want that. If you want your business to be sustainable, if you want people to know, like, and trust you, they can't feel like you're trying to sell them every time they come in. So even if they were initially in the consideration stage, you don't stand out as someone different enough for them to hire you or buy from you. And they're still shopping, they're not buying. And if they do buy and it's not what they actually wanted, you're more likely to get refunds, or they buy and then they don't actually implement the product because they were feeling pressured into it. So they're like, oh, well, I better buy now while it's on sale. But then they don't use it. So you're not getting those case stories. You're not getting those testimonials. They're less likely to go back to you and say, oh, yeah, this person was really helpful, because all they did was buy something that's just sitting there. You don't want to do that. So, how I accidentally discovered the perfect client attraction and filtration system in my business, which I've now implemented, and I started working with it intentionally as an ecosystem. So, this is how it started out, and this is how it's going to be evolving. I'm going to basically tell you where it started and now what I'm doing with it. So, my focus initially was getting better at my videos and creating content to help others, but not sales. So, I at the time that I was creating my videos, it was for practice because I was learning my coaching skills. I already had some clients that I was coaching. I wasn't looking to enroll anybody else. And I also wanted to make sure that the help would be there for people as they needed it, so that I wouldn't have to go into the DMs and answer a whole bunch of questions. So it started out where it's like, I'm going to do a video every single week. I'm going to get good at speaking. I'm going to get good at teaching. And in the meantime, I was also coaching on the side. And I wasn't looking to sell anybody with these videos. I was really just practicing and getting better at my videos. I was getting better at my content. I was taught in my program for coaching and marketing and sales, virtual coach, that implementation is key. So I was learning the skills and I was implementing the skills right away. However, even though I wasn't looking to take on any more clients, even though that wasn't my focus because I was deeply immersed in this program, I accidentally attracted clients anyway off of those videos that I'd put on YouTube. And again, the intention was to teach, not to sell. So one client actually came to me. I had put my videos on YouTube. They were still kind of unpolished in a lot of ways. I didn't have any offers coming. I just happened to have a booking page, and I'd hidden that booking page because at the time I was getting ready to take the summer off to be with my kids. At the time, I was also thinking of building my coaching program. I was going to build a digital course, and I was also working on publishing my book. And while I was at the beach hanging out with my kids, all of a sudden I got a ping on my email that said somebody has just booked a call with you for 2 weeks from now. And then not long after that, I suddenly got another ping, this time telling me somebody had just messaged me on Facebook. She had joined my Facebook group and she'd messaged me. And she asked me personally, I heard about that challenge that you did. Is it still available? Well, it just so happened that I had turned that challenge, which is the Write Your Empowered Birth Plan mini challenge, I had turned that into a lead magnet. And it was going to be a bonus with my book that I was also publishing. So I just put that on an opt-in page and I gave that to her. And what she did is she went through it immediately. I didn't have to nurture her into it. She's just like, okay. And she went through it and she implemented. And I also had my book and she's like, well, what about your book? And I'm like, well, That's not published yet. However, I do have the PDF, and I gave her my PDF of my book. And she went through that and she did the work. She had pre-sold herself on my value and on my methodology, and she did the work before she even got on that call with me. So when we got on that call 2 weeks later, she was already primed and ready to go. She just wanted to know what else she was missing. She was thinking of hiring somebody else. And then after talking to me, she decided that I was the better fit, and we worked together. We worked together for 6 weeks. It was last minute, and I was thinking I'm not taking on any clients. And then she came into my orbit, and it was just the right amount of time. It was just the right amount of money. And it worked out that this was one of my most powerful case stories that I could have asked for my business going forward. Like, this is one of those stories that when I tell it, people are just amazed. And then it reinforces the methodology that I used. And then I also teach through example, and I'll tell you more about that soon enough. But because I accidentally attracted these clients, this is when I realized I had so many of these videos that I was just putting out there. And I noticed, oh, if I continue to create these videos, which I'm going to do anyway, I'm going to attract more clients because I'm getting better and better at them, and I now have more offers. Now, I also recognized that I didn't want to have to basically put people onto a video right away, or I was creating these little mini guides because sometimes people would be like, spam me with all of the stuff. Rather than spam somebody with a bunch of links or tips on how to have a natural birth, in my case, I wrote out the 20 natural birth traps. I wrote out the 22 pain traps. I wrote out the 21 cesarean traps, and so on and so forth. And I had 26 things that they needed to know if it was the first time planning a natural birth. And that was the first one that I did. And the reason I did that was, again, because people just wanted to know all of the things, and they kept asking for links. Well, when they were in those mom groups, what was happening is that they would get the same surface level information that I knew wasn't going to help them. So I created those short little mini guides, and then I just say, hey, I have this guide. Do you want it? And I didn't want them on my email list. This is the thing. I didn't want just anybody on my email list. I was very particular on who I wanted in the actual deeper levels of my community. So instead, I created a lead magnet for a lead magnet. Of course, this led to another problem because I happen to be someone who likes to create. And I see a problem, I create something for it. I just get bored and I create something. So then I had too many mini guides. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to create a freebies page. But then that created another problem because I had so many, people didn't know where to go first. And so in December of 2023, I then created my first version of my starter guide. Now, I'll show you a little bit about how that works. You may also want to check out my deeper dive masterclass, the one link to rule them all, because that's going to show you more about how that starter guide works. I can't get into that in this particular masterclass. So if you do want to know more about the deeper levels of the starter guide itself and how it works into the ecosystem, then you're going to want to check out that masterclass next. So the thing is, though, is that I needed to further protect my time, because I realized that the starter guide, which initially was just showcasing my book and showcasing my coaching, was going to get me more clients again. And I really wanted to only take on a few calls and a few clients, and I was very protective of my time and energy. As much as I love coaching, I also recognized that it needed to be with people that would give me those powerful case stories. I wasn't just going to take on any client. And I also wanted to be able to protect my time for my other projects outside of the birth space, because I had a whole other branch of my ecosystem that I could create based on how I had already done my 5 pillars. Like, my 5 pillars of empowered birth are also the 5 pillars of empowerment. And they also lead to you being able to have the glass slipper method and to be able to have the ability to set boundaries. And there's just so much that I was teaching, and I was doing live streams and freestyle. I mean, you can check out my videos on Carly Bondred Uncensored, and you'll see just how many ways that I can go 10 layers deep on all of my content. So I recognized that about myself. I recognized that I wasn't just about birth. I recognized that there were people that were in my audience that were not necessarily planning to have another baby, but a lot of my clients also ended up creating businesses, or they'd go back to school. They would go and do something new in their lives that they weren't thinking that they could do before. They basically were like, now that I've done this hard thing of birth and I've shown just what I can do, I'm now inspired and I want to create more for myself. So this applies to relationships. Sometimes you have an empowered birth and you realize that your relationship isn't really what you wanted it to be, and you need to leave. I mean, I had my eyes opened after my empowered birth to everything that wasn't working in my life, and also what my ultimate dreams and vision were. I realized that I wasn't just going to keep this as a best kept secret, that I really wanted to create that impact. And as I continued to go deeper into my own mission and what I wanted to create, that's when I realized just how powerful my own system was outside of the birth space. So now what I do inside of my deep dive weekly newsletters is I have 2 pieces. I have the empowered birth magic, and then I have the empowered mom magic. And it's the same method, but different ways of utilizing it, depending on where they're at in the journey. Then the beginning of the newsletter is, here's what came up this week. Here's the theme we're going to be discussing. The middle of it happens to be all of the other little pieces that I created. Now I can have affiliates in there. I can have other events from other people in my circle that I can tell them about. And I can say, hey, go check out my friend. I can tell them about what new pieces of content I've created. And that middle piece can be as long or as short as needed. Whereas the end pieces of the Empowered Birth Magic, which is my main business, and Empowered Mom Magic, which is my secondary one, allows for that seamlessness where they don't have to be on different email lists. I can just do one newsletter, because this is another problem. But of course, when your content is that good and when everybody wants a piece of you, this then leads to them wanting to get on those calls with you. And you start to realize you need to raise your rates. You need to protect your time. And you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to qualify those people. So the thing is that I needed to further qualify leads while creating advocates. I didn't want to sell people, because not everyone is the right fit for coaching, but everyone deserves support. And that is why I created my 3 paths. You may have already heard about those 3 paths. Go and check out some of my other videos if you want the deeper dive. But it's basically, there's path 1, which is the do-it-yourself path, where they can take all of my free content and they can piece the whole thing together themselves. And then there's the self-study path, where they basically go through masterclasses, they go through workshops, they go through my book, and they take those pieces. I have workbooks available as well. Even within my other side of my ecosystem, which is just Empowered Mom Magic, I still created a workbook, and they can go through that. And then they can basically still have those results. This is also the piece that I give to anybody who says, hey, I want you to speak on my thing, but I don't necessarily want their audience on my email newsletter unless it's aligned. So instead of getting a whole big list of people that maybe they wouldn't actually be a good fit for my community, that's just they wanted that free thing and then they jump off again once they get that free thing, I make it so that they can just go and get that. And then my VIP offer is that I would coach them on that thing. And eventually I'll have a free workshop or program that goes on top of that. However, this is basically like the extra side. I'm building empowering moms first, and then I basically scale up. So then the last path is premium coaching, and I'm not available to work with everyone. I don't get on calls with everyone, and I have an intake form. I don't have a booking page. So it's like, okay, where are you at? Are you at the level yet where I would get on that call with you? Or are you at the level where I can still send you another resource or put you into self-study until you're ready for it? And then I have self-study VIP as well, which is like the in-between. So that one allows them to basically buy a call from me. Like they buy a session by buying the program. But information is free and I charge for access to me. So the way I do this, of course, is with my ecosystem. And you're probably wondering what the ecosystem is. Well, the ecosystem, as I said, it's basically like a magical garden, if you want to look at it that way. How do you attract butterflies? You can either trap them in a net and put them in a cage, or you can create a garden where they naturally just want to stay there. They're breeding there, they're living there, but they are also free to fly off wherever they want to be. And you don't have to curate that environment so that they stay in. They just naturally want to stay. So it's education-based content, and it's conversion embedded in the teaching itself. And then the offer ties to the content. The other part of the ecosystem is that it's exposure across multiple channels, it's connection through story, and then it's also the opportunity to go deeper. And this is all within the same piece of content. So how this works with the buyer's journey. If they're in the awareness stage, you've just showcased the actual problem and the ways that they can solve it without pressuring them to buy now before they're ready to even trust you. Now, if they're in the consideration stage, it looks a bit different because you've now showcased not only the problem, but your method. And you've shown them the different ways that they can go deeper. They are less likely to keep shopping because now, instead of being the pushy salesperson that says, go buy this most expensive thing in the store, I know the solution to your problem, they are self-selecting. You have now presented options for them, and they have the option to keep shopping around, or they have the option to pick something that you have basically presented and said, hey, if you're looking for this, then it's in here in this section of the store. And this is the product that is the highest value. And then going down the line from there. Now, if they're in the buying stage, then you have given them everything that they need to know about what working with you would give them personally. And they are also pre-sold on you before they even book a session or buy from you. They've come into your store. They've seen that you are friendly. They see that you are not pressuring them into buying. In fact, you don't even keep the VIP stuff out there. You're like, no. Unless you are actually ready for it, I'm not going to give you the personal shopper experience. If you want the personal shopper experience, you do pay extra for it. However, everything's out here. You can go and find it. You don't need me, but if you want me, I'm here. And then finally, what if they don't buy from you? Because, sometimes they're just coming in, they're just looking. Or maybe you are really expensive and they can't afford you. But you don't want to turn them off because they were attracted into your orbit. So because you led with value, they're still going to be advocates for your brand, and they may return later. They may also say, she's really expensive and her stuff is really good. So I would suggest you check her out, because even if you don't buy anything from her, she's going to be able to help you. And, that's the idea of what I really want. I want my clients to be like, go check out her content. I mean, I worked with her personally. She's not cheap. And she gave me this result, this result, this result. And here's how you can learn more about her without going to my sales page, without having to get on my email list. If it's for them, they self-select in. So why the ecosystem? Well, again, as I mentioned, typical outreach requires you to figure out exactly what someone wants and needs in order to deliver that value. And you have to invite them to go deeper with you. But most people are wary of being sold to, not to mention the fact that you're going to have to talk to so many people. And if you're an introvert, or you just don't have a lot of time to sit there and do outreach, and you don't want to rely on somebody else trying to get leads for you, then you're going to need to do things differently than what you've been taught. Because it's not about numbers, it's about alignment, it's about energetic frequency, and it's about getting the right people around the right time when they're ready. So people usually have figured out that trick about the email opt-in too. So if they really want that checklist or they really want that gift, then they'll go and get it, but then they unsubscribe from your list. That screws up your open rate, that screws up your CRM, and it causes it so that your emails end up going to spam. People hate being sold to, but they do love to buy. So sales pages tend to turn off buyers by the long videos and copy that buries the shut up and take my money part. And then there's also the ones that were just looking for the solution, not looking to buy. And as they keep reading, they suddenly realize, oh, you're not going to tell me anything important. You're just trying to sell me into this thing that's behind a paywall. And then they jump off because they were really looking for a solution. They were excited. And now you've sold them and they weren't ready to buy. Or maybe they wanted to buy, but they don't have the money right now. And then they forget about you. The other thing is that if they have just come into your system, they may not know where to start, even if they are looking to buy. Maybe the products that you have showcased in your video is too advanced for the level that they're at. Maybe they're on step 1 and you're selling step 3. Maybe you're even selling step 1 and they are at step 3. They're like, I need step 3. I need step 4. Like, what do you have higher than that? Well, you haven't showcased that. So they don't know that you have it. Even if you have a full product line available, if you are only showcasing one thing, what happens is that if they come across that video that's only showcasing that one thing, they may jump off and think, oh, they don't have anything higher level. And if you're not showcasing it properly, then you're losing them. It can be so overwhelming for people to know the first steps. And it's also overwhelming and frustrating for you and your team to know what to drop as a resource or CTA. So the other thing, again, is funnels lose people. The ecosystem, however, attracts and filters everyone where they most want to go. And it creates built-in curiosity of what else is there. So instead of opting in to a freebie only to be sold in a funnel, and then they drop off at certain levels, depending on if they were in awareness or they were in consideration or buying, you have now basically allowed them to go freely where they need to go. They're not trapped in a net. They're not trapped in some building. They are little butterflies that are flittering around and they're sampling the flowers and they're deciding to stay. The other part is that you can gamify this learning experience. People don't want to sit for hours trying to learn something new unless it's fun. And they don't want to take that next step unless they have a choice. So with the choose your own adventure feature, people can pick their own path of what they're engaging in and how they want to engage with your material. So I'm going to be telling you more about that with the content section. I'm going to give you a demonstration as well as how this works. But the idea with my starter guide, if you check the one link masterclass, you'll see how I've gamified it. But even the fact that the way that I teach my videos, it's very much choose your own adventure. Even my blog posts, it's choose your own adventure. Even my email newsletters, it's choose your own adventure. They get to choose the level that they want to be at, and they continue to go down the rabbit hole of Wonderland wherever they want to go. There's also storytelling in there. It's fun, it's interactive. And because of that, a lot of the people that filter into my community, they want to stay just to see what is Carly going to take us to next. And they continue to open the emails. I have an open rate of about 35% by the first week, and it goes up to 50% by the second week after sending out that email. And I send out a newsletter every single week. Usually within the first few hours of sending out this email, what happens is that I get an open rate between anywhere from 12% all the way to 20 to 25%, depending on how fast they got that content or what time I send out that email. And I write them myself because I believe in creating the content first, and then you refine it after so that it's still your own energetic signature. You do not outsource this. However, you also don't spend a lot of time creating multiple pieces of content. You curate it. You create one main thing, and then you branch out from it. So the other thing, though, is you also have instant referrals, no hassle, because this stuff is so awesome. People are going to want to share it. They're going to want to tell others about it because you're not selling, because you're not scammy, because you're actually delivering real value, and it's in an entertaining format. They are more likely to say, go check out this person. Yeah, I know there's a lot of information on this, but the way they teach it is a lot more fun, and they tell through story. So you're not feeling like you're sitting in a classroom learning a whole bunch of boring stuff. Instead, it's fun. And that's the key. All right, so what is that ecosystem? So think of this as a one-stop library hub, and you can go as big as you want. So you drop a little tiny piece of it, and then anyone who follows the trail will instantly be filtered right into your world of magic and wonder. I have a slogan. It's called "The deeper you go with me, the more treasures you'll uncover." And the reason for that is because of the way that I have basically set up my system so that they have the option of skimming the headlines or just watching the overview. They have the option of going through and just reading the bold text. They have the option of just watching a video. They have the option of reading. They have the option of going deeper with the links that I embed. And they have the option of going through the actual method itself. And I have those different paths. They have the do-it-yourself path where they can just keep watching the videos. They can keep following my content, and they're still going to get value. But when they're ready to implement, then they can either go through and get the tips that I share within those videos and implement that way. Or if they want something more streamlined, I have self-study. If they want to opt into the community, now they have self-selected. They are no longer doing it just to get the free thing. The free thing is a bonus to what they actually are opting into, which is to be part of the community. Information is free. I charge for access to me, and that includes the email opt-ins, because I want those people on my list who are going to open the emails, not the ones that just jumped on to get the free thing and then forgot to unsubscribe, or worse, did unsubscribe. So it is the anti-funnel. Instead of getting a bunch of people opting into freebies and then jumping off your list, you only attract the serious subscribers. It removes that frustration of the paywall too. Instead of your audience getting turned off by a pitch page, They get turned on and they want to go deeper with you. And it attracts every level of your audience and niche and takes them from awareness to seeing you as the one with the solution to their biggest challenges. You become top of mind, know, like, and trust factor is automatically embedded in, and they are more likely to follow you. They are more likely to lurk around for a little bit before they even subscribe, and they will tell others about you. Because it showcases your authority without you having to run a webinar or brag. And you just keep creating high value content pieces and repurposing them over and over again. This also psychologically primes your market to want to go deeper with you. It saves you time and energy. You create one piece of high conversion content or even a webinar, and then you repurpose it across multiple platforms to lead back to you. So I have my deep dive masterclasses, and these have then been able to be converted into transcripts. The transcripts are created into a blog. The blog can be broken up into different pieces that I then create for social media posts. I also add them as the descriptions for videos that I add, and I clip those videos from the masterclass and put them across all the other platforms. So my deep dive masterclass, as you will see in a minute when I do the demonstration, has a different function. It is the conversion piece. However, when I break up that conversion piece, because it's already high value content, it lures people back to the original channel and into my wider ecosystem where they are more likely to follow me, and they are more likely to stay connected to the community. You know, it takes about 7 times for someone to be exposed to a piece of content before they even decide to follow you and even decide to watch something. So the more that you can stay top of mind without having to go and create multiple bits of content for multiple different platforms and try to fit it all in, if you are just clipping the same videos at different lengths and then having different descriptions for the different level that you're at, this then ensures that people will naturally start to filter in. By doing this within only about a 3-week period, I was able to boost my view rate from where it was sitting at, which was about 14 views, to over 1,000 of them. In fact, it was about 626.3% increase within the 3 weeks that I was doing this for views on Facebook and exposure. And most of those views were coming from people who were not actively following me. They just found me in my orbit. 90% of them just found me. This exposes me to more of an audience, and those who want to stay are going to naturally be filtered in when they're ready to learn more. I also ended up getting some more signups on my email list, and they were high quality leads that opened the emails right away. And in fact, one of them was just the kind of person that I would want to work with, not only as a client, but as a collaborator. So this allows you again to attract the right people to you at the right time. And it can take someone from cold to close in minutes. New prospects instantly follow whatever path suits them. And if they're ready to buy, they won't be turned off by a long email sequence or multi-tiered offers. You won't lose them. You'll be able to do what I did with that one client who she just binge watched a whole bunch of my YouTube videos, and then she booked the call with me, and then she became a client. Like, she had just binge watched. She just found me and she's like, I want to be a client. And the same thing, there's some clients that come to me, they just watched a video the week before, they opt into the email newsletter, and I send them a message because they are also inside my Facebook group and they wanted to learn more about something. And then I get into connection and I realize, oh, yeah, you're ready. You want to learn more. And whatever level they're at, then we're able to get that relationship going. So how does this work? Okay. So here's how this works in the overall. Someone is going to find your content. Doesn't matter what platform. Okay. Doesn't matter what piece of content. Doesn't matter if it's the deeper dive or if it was a tiny clip. But they found a piece of your content and now they started watching it. And if it's for them, they stay. If it's not, they automatically jump off. Now, there's also the one that kind of saw you, kind of liked what you had to say, didn't watch the whole thing, but you showed up. And because you keep showing up, eventually they start to be like, I'm a little curious who this person is and how they're different. And then they watch longer and longer pieces of your content. So then through this, they are learning about your method, your services, and that you have more freebies that they can opt into in their own time. There's no fake scarcity. Now, the content is also bingeable. It's highly educational, and they want to learn more. Because it's so entertaining, they want to learn more. If they don't have time for the deep dive masterclass, well, you have the clips available. You have other forms of the same content. So they don't have to watch the long class. They can watch the shorter version. If they're ready for the longer version, they can get it. And then automatically they'll start to see you as their trusted guide, not another guru, because they don't want somebody who's an expert who's just going to tell them how they're wrong. They want somebody who's going to see them as doing the thing. So you're guiding them. You've already gone off and you fought the dragons that they were trying to fight before. You know the traps that they could fall into. You're guiding them, but they happen to be the hero or heroine on the journey, not you. This is important. You need to make sure that they see themselves as the one doing the thing. They are the one that was promised. They are the prince or princess that was promised. They are the ones that are going to claim that kingdom. So what do you need to make this ecosystem? Because this is not for somebody who's just started out. This is not somebody who is just starting to get a few clients and doesn't have a proven system yet or social proof. If you're just starting out, this is not going to work for you yet. Okay, I'm just going to let you know that. This is for a seasoned coach. This is for someone who already has products available. This is for somebody who's already known their audience, knows the words to say, and is confident in making high quality conversion content. If you're not there yet, then there are other things that you could probably learn either from me, or I also have mentors available that I can direct you to. But what you're going to need to make this work is you want an interactive PDF guide with extra bits inside of a Google Drive, or you have a website with sections and anchors. So you can scale this at any level. It doesn't have to be a website right away. You can do this with a PDF, and I'm going to show you an example of how that works. But then in addition to that, you're going to need to have a content library of free, high value, high conversion content that becomes part of the larger ecosystem. What I mean by high conversion is that when you are making this high value content, you have a clear call to action where you've also showcased the value and you have shown them through social proof of your case stories and your methodology, so that by the time they're done watching that video, they're at least curious about opting into something a little bit higher level. Either going to your website, which you would have your starter guide, or going and checking out another video, or going and checking out that masterclass that you mentioned, or going and getting that opt-in, figuring out where they are in the journey. And some of them will bypass the whole system and say, that's it, I want to talk to this person. So you need to have that figured out. You need to have that content library, because if somebody isn't ready to buy off of that one video, you want them to be able to go to the next one and the next one and the next one until they feel so comfortable with your material that they're like, this is the obvious choice. I've now watched a whole bunch of videos. I've binge watched on the content. Where is their sign up page? Because that's what my client did. She found one video and then it was a series. So she went and watched the next one, and she watched the next one after that and the next one after that. There was no selling in this video. However, she knew enough about how I'd showcased that I was a coach, that I did have a book, that I did have a challenge I was working on. I just mentioned it briefly, and she was the one who then self-selected and decided she wanted to work with me. So in order for that to work, though, you need to have a basic idea of the common things that you're constantly showcasing in your work: the testimonials, the opt-in pages, the resources, the products, all of the things that tie into your overall system. If you're talking about one topic, how does that one topic expand? What else do you have available? When I'm teaching a class, I'm always referencing how they can go deeper, or referencing another video that goes deeper into that topic. You can even watch how I've done this with this masterclass, how I've mentioned, go check out my channel, Carly Bonderud Uncensored. Go check out my guide for the 5 pillars, which is basically teaching them how to go through that workbook and get the Phoenix method, which is my 5 pillars of empowerment. I told you that if you want to learn how to create the starter guide, then you're going to want to check out the One Link to Rule Them All masterclass, which is the first one that I did within this ecosystem training. So now that you understand that, and you understand that there's also the glass slipper method playlist on my YouTube channel, then you can see that you could go anywhere with this. You can see it as I'm demonstrating it to you. You can see that I have no attachment to you coming and working with me right away, or asking for a course, or basically trying to figure out how to do this yourself. You're going to go and self-select at your own level. And I've given you those paths. I do have an intake form. If you want to work with me or you want to know more, I have that intake form. And I don't work with everyone who comes to me. And information is free, but I charge for access to me. So if you are selected, you need to be aware that I do charge for my coaching. I don't do free coaching calls. So the thing is that you also need to have at least one main resource for someone at each level. And you saw how I just did that. So you have new people who just stumbled upon your content. They don't know who you are. They don't know your methodology. They don't know just how awesome you are as a coach. They don't know about your case stories or your proof or any of that. They may not even know what their problem is yet. And you expect them to buy from you? They have no idea what they need yet. So you need to have something that's going to help them figure out what they need. And then they automatically will attribute you with the solution. So what I do for my new audience members is I just put out those master classes, and I have the freebie guides, and I have the starter paths, and I tell them, this is the thing you need to start with first. And then you go to this step, and then you go to this step. It's 3 steps. Go watch this deep dive masterclass training series, which is a free challenge. Then go get my book and do the exercises in that book, and then go get this free workshop. And that will allow you to have all of the steps. But if you're seasoned, you've already tried all of the other things and you made mistakes, which means that you want to go in and figure out what you were missing last time. So maybe they skip a step. Maybe they're like, I'm not afraid of birth. In my case, it's like, I'm not afraid of birth. So I don't need to do the reset your mindset challenge. And I already kind of have my birth plan. In fact, I already bought your book. So I already went through that. So what is the next step? Oh, the workshop. Okay, so I put my name and email in and I get on the workshop. Got it. Okay. They go through the workshop. Now they're ready for the paid program academy if they're at that level. But again, if they're not, they don't need to do that. They may just be like, you know what? I don't want to go through another program. I just want to talk to you directly. So rather than buy the program, what I'm going to do is I'm going to self-select into the coaching itself. And I'm going to go for that laser coaching that you mentioned, because I don't take the long calls unless they've either bought the program and gone through it and done all of the work for graduation, or if they happen to be in a group program. Again, it's self-selected and I have my qualified leads. I don't take on everyone. Your energy is really precious as a coach. You don't want students in your program who aren't going to do the work, because then that is going to bring down the rest of the group. You don't want a whole bunch of no-shows. You want the people who are going to value your stuff. So rather than trying to attract everybody and get everybody through the door, if you are able to filter them out, you're going to get a lot less refunds. And you're going to get a lot more happy customers and happy clients who are happy to refer you to others. The other thing, of course, is that you're also dealing with the traumatized ones. And they have been so screwed over, they are disillusioned. They tried all of the things and they kept getting screwed over. How are you going to help them? And then the other part is the multi-tiered buy-in, your newsletter, your course or book, and coaching. You need to have at least one main source for all of that. So for your audience, you need to be able to target the new ones, the seasoned ones, and the traumatized ones. You need to have that buy-in of the newsletter, the course or book, and your coaching, so that if somebody isn't right for your coaching, they still are going to get help through another way with your methodology. That's important. And then finally, you also want non-opt-in freebies, because you don't want everybody on your list. So downloads without email opt-ins, and I'll show you more about that after. So the concept of the ecosystem is that you're delivering value, you're creating awareness of the problem, the solution, and your brand. And your high-value content functions as the first step to showcasing how you're different, while also focusing on what your ideal client would care about most. You also have people self-select into your community. They already know, like, and trust you. They're more likely to see you as the top of mind guide and will engage further with your content, opting in when they're ready. And it's no pressure, no sales, but high conversion and retainment. People will continue to follow you, they'll share your stuff, and they'll opt into your products and services when they're ready. And they pre-sell themselves before they buy. So again, they're looking at your stuff and they're looking at your value. And then they're like, how do I work with you directly? You've already told them, so they self-select. And this is what happened is, even before I was a coach, I had people come to me and like, well, do you have services available? I'm like, no, I'm just sharing this stuff for free. Well, how do I pay you? I want to take your classes. I mean, my business partner and best friend, Jenny, even said this to me. She's like, I will pay you all the money. I'm like, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to make you a partner in this, and we're going to build this program together, and we're going to teach other students, and we're going to see how this works out. And it turned out it worked out really well. So the beauty of the ecosystem is that it also evolves. It's not stagnant. It's not an evergreen funnel. It's an ecosystem. As you grow, the ecosystem grows. So you are creating a root system and foundation. Instead of outdated funnels and evergreen product launches, the ecosystem grows with you. No more having to tear everything down and rebuild again. Everything is interconnected. It repurposes all your content to be multifunctional and replicable. So your old viral videos can now link to the deeper dive pieces that you created much later. You can also create multiple pieces of content from one original masterclass or video with no added costs across multiple platforms. The other thing is that if you are freestyling on another platform and you reference something else within your overall system, then you can also use that piece of content. So Carly Bondard Uncensored was originally just me having fun. And now it's also evolved to be part of my overall Empowering Moms brand in a different way. So it's basically building those branches of a tree. And the offers naturally will tie into one main system of delivery. You create your 3 distinct paths: do it yourself, self-study, premium. And then you have the 3 main entry points for those paths. So I have entry points aside from just go watch this content that then leads to the next thing. The end of the do-it-yourself path is signing up within the email newsletter, because that gives them options to go into the free self-study challenges, and then they're going to self-select when they're ready. The self-study allows them to have the opt-in of going on my free challenges that I put on YouTube. Then the next step is opting into the email. The final step would be going into self-study VIP. For the premium coaching, the first step is they do the intake form. Then if they are selected or they have already bought a course and therefore they're entitled to have that free call and it's aligned for them to have it at that time, then we do 15 minutes. If they have a deeper level self-study and they've graduated from that self-study program, they have an additional 30-minute to 45-minute strategy call. And then in addition to that, I have my group coaching, I have my one-to-one services, I have my laser coaching. So you see how it's like all 3s. So how do you start this? Okay. So you need to have high value conversion content that becomes a breadcrumb trail. You create the content piece once, and then you build off of it to add articles, clips, posts, and transcripts, all leading back to the original piece of content. Now, I highly recommend that you do this through video. And the reason you want to do this through video is because it allows your clients and your audience to get into your frequency for your voice. They see a familiar face. They get to see your energy. They get to see you light up on camera. They see that you know your stuff. You are top of mind. They're not just reading an article. They have a face to go with that article. The other reason is because if you take that video, you can then turn it into a transcript. And then that transcript can be turned into a blog post. You can also clip that video across multiple different platforms. So one video can be over 80 pieces of content, depending on how long it is. I did a list of 26 things in one video, and then I clipped each one. And I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. So then the other part is that your deep dive content weaves in your method and services and products effortlessly. So you don't sell it, you showcase it as an enhancement to the material that's already being taught. And then your methodology is taught through story examples of case stories and personal stories. You can also weave in other references to other people's content. You can weave in books that you have been reading, and then that showcases the value. If you then choose to go and collaborate with the authors of those books, then in future videos, you can reference those interviews, which then ties into the authors getting more visibility, and then they are more likely to get sales, and they are also more likely to reciprocate and share your stuff. So it's an ecosystem. There's no competition, there's collaboration. And you can build this as big as you want. So you walk your talk, you showcase how your clients applied the method, including how they overcame challenges. And it's not a testimonial or proof, it's another layer of teaching. And it's through real life examples. They see themselves in the story. This is important. All right. So now we are going to see the ecosystem in action. So as mentioned before, when I said that I did 26 things, I started out with a list, okay? So this was originally just a PDF guide. I didn't have any links embedded in it. The links came later. Now, every single one of these is linked to a video in my series, but originally I just had this list. And you see how simple it is. At the end of the list, though, I created this. Are you new to the community? They can read the rest of the pages, so it's choose your own adventure, and they can take the first 3 steps in order, and that will basically tell them the same thing that's in those pages. So they have a choice. They can go and opt themselves into the self-study path, or what they can do is they can just keep reading. So I have my challenge, I have my book, and I have my workshop. Then I tell them the real reasons why things get derailed. So I tell them, here's the secret that people were not telling you about why your problem is the way it is. Here's what you deserve to have. And then I also had, hi, this is me, this is what I do. And then I tell them more about what they need to know. So there's parts of my methodology in here. And then there's my book. There's some case stories. These are also linked, so they can link that right to the video. There's my academy, so that's my paid program. And then I also tell them more about going beyond just what's in my overall system from my book. And then I tell them about those 3 paths. So you can see that. And then going deeper, it tells them all of the extra resources that they're going to want. And in addition to that, my social media channels. So when you see that, the next thing that you're going to want to see is, it, as I said, it links to a playlist. My playlist, every single one of these subsequent videos was based off of this one. Okay? So I have all of this high conversion content. All of it is high conversion content. And then from there, we have the essential tips, where I was basically running this. And if you check the description, I mentioned a transcript, remember? So if you go here, you'll see the transcript. Now, the transcript itself, again, they can skim the headlines and find where they want to go. And there's embedded links into that transcript. So this transcript came first. And then what I did with it is I then created the blog post. So the transcript then became a blog post. And the blog post has the video. So they can watch the video. Now, this is where we have the paths, okay? So paths for learning. The path of the surface skimmer. If they only have a few minutes to spare, they don't have any energy to dive into the long article, they can simply glance over the headlines in bold or dark blue text, read any relevant sections that work for them. The casual swimmer, if they have a bit more time, they want the overall summary, they can read the bold text. There's the deep diver who likes to know everything, then they simply follow the traditional path and they read the whole thing. And then there's the treasure seeker. If they're a serious student who likes to go beyond just one article, they can look over each section and click any links that speak to them. Then there's the methodology, which is similar to what I did with the mini guides itself. It's also what I talk about inside of my videos in the introductions. And then again, I have those same three paths, the workshop and everything else, the opt-ins. I also told them to go and get the treasure. Note how it's that PDF guide, because they can just go and grab that and now they have access to everything. And then I have my essential tips where, as you notice, I haven't done like the thing of want more. No, it's enhanced. So with this one, it's hire your right care provider. I've embedded the links and I've also told them that there is an additional ebook that they can get through that workshop, the one I'd already mentioned. So they can go and click that and they can get that workshop. It's a free opt-in. So then the next thing, of course, is that everything is embedded. The first link here goes straight to the next video in the series. So this is still a bigger version of that opt-in guide that they could just download for free and they wouldn't have to even put in their name and email. And it's all the same. So you see that everything on the opt-in pages, it's all embedded in there. Now, the next part I want to showcase for you is we're going to go here to my shorts. Now, I've done this also on Instagram and Facebook as well, but YouTube Shorts seems to be getting a lot of attention. And what I want you to really notice is that when I put these shorts out, the related video is the high conversion video content. So I've basically clipped every single one of those 26 things, and then I put them out. So I'm clipping the masterclasses. And then finally, the last part, that one link to rule them all. If you want to know the deeper dive of that, make sure you go and check out that masterclass I mentioned for the one link. But this is the starter guide. And when they watch the high conversion videos, I'm constantly referencing this starter guide. And the reason I do that, again, is because I'm showcasing the value and I'm telling them where their next steps are. I've got the seasoned mom, I've got the first-time mom, I've got the VBAC mom who is traumatized. And essentially, I'm telling them again what resources are best going to fit for them. I tell them about the methodology. And the best part about the way that I've done this starter guide is I've added a video that will showcase what they need to know so they don't even have to read. So by doing this, I've created multiple different ways for them to get the same information, and then they self-select through there. So I've got the following of social media. Again, if you want the deeper dive, I did go into this in that one link masterclass, but there's the do-it-yourself path with the entry-level points. Go and get the free Empowered Birth Toolkit here. And then the do-it-yourself, I tell them, again, where they can do their self-selection. Self-study, I tell them about the workshop, and they start the program. And then the last one, premium coaching, they need to apply and do the intake form. And then at the end, if they get to the end, this is the guide I mentioned. So if they go beyond birth to my next level of my ecosystem, this is why I said your ecosystem evolves, you then create your complementary workbook that allows them again. And you just give it to them. You don't even make them do an email opt-in for this. You just give it to them, because this is the level where it's like, I have other things that I teach, but it's not necessarily for the audience that I am wanting to convert with my emails every week. So I'm just going to give it. I'm just going to give it up. And then you see, I've got the same thing, do it yourself, self-study, and premium access. Eventually, when I have my book, No More Mommy Martyr, I will be putting that in there too. The other thing is I'll have other options that I can embed links. Now, on the back end, the beauty of this system is that if you have the back end with your Google Drives, then all you need to do is put them in the Google Drive itself. And then what you can do is, I had that toolkit, you know how I mentioned that? So the Empowered Birth Toolkit, I take things and I put them in and I take them out. So if you go and check that out, then what happens is that you're like, oh, everything I need is in here. So yeah, basically everything that you need to know is inside of your toolkit, and you can interchange that anytime you want. And that's basically the ecosystem. So if you have any questions, again, you can reach out to me. You can also just say, you want to learn more about this. I do teach more inside of my masterclasses. And I also have this within the ecosystem paths in my Carly Bondred Uncensored video, so you can watch more content. But that's basically what I wanted to show you. And again, information is free and I charge for access to me. So if you have any questions, there is an intake form. I just showed you how to go and get it. And you can reach out to me at hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com if you want to know more. So thank you so much for watching. Have a happy empowered birth journey, whether you're birthing a baby, birthing a business, or birthing a new version of yourself. Empowering Moms is here for you. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Namaste.